Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Shahin Ghadir, and I'm an expert in the world of fertility, the area that I love and have deep passion for. I have helped thousands of people around the globe start their beautiful families, and in this podcast, The Fertile Life, I interview guests about their paths to parenthood and dive into discussions around how the road to becoming a parent shapes us. Also looking at the balance between family and many responsibilities life demands from us. And we'll be discussing the challenges that we encounter along the way. Through insightful conversations, I hope to create a guide for listeners in all stages of life and break many stigmas often associated with fertility. We will also share all the health and wellness tips my guests and I have learned over the years. Follow along as I take you on a journey towards the fertile life. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Shahin Ghadir, and thanks for joining us on the Fertile Life podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, someone that I've done Instagram lives with in the past and who's been incredibly interesting. My audience absolutely loved to hear from her. And with that note, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Rahi and have her tell us a little bit about what she's so well known for and why people loved listening to her the last time we were talking. Hi, Dr. Rahi.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. So I practice integrative medicine and aesthetics in Beverly Hills, and I also have an office in New York now since we last talked.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. I merge the world of aesthetics and integrative medicine. So I really focus on health, beauty, and wellness from the inside out. And that's basically been my passion for the past several years.
That's wonderful. I know that when we talked before, for me, just to let everyone know, the integrative medicine path that people have grown now into a real area of medicine for me is so interesting. It's really hard. I can't even imagine in the past how we did and how we treated patients without looking at the integrative path as well. Let's just stop for 1 second. I want everyone to understand what integrative medicine is. Would you mind touching base on that?
Sure. Integrative medicine focuses on disease prevention and helping you live as optimally as possible using all the different types of medicine from, all the different specialties of medicine and around the world as well. Because we have, in North America, we have naturopaths, DOs, MDs, acupuncturists, but then we also have like more traditional medicines from, for example, like Ayurvedic medicine from East India. We have traditional Chinese medicine that's been around for centuries in China. But now we're like a global world, so all these medicines are now available to us. And so integrative medicine really brings it all together and offers the best option for the individual patient at that time. So it looks at a patient as an individual, and we integrative medicine practitioners will offer all these different options, whether we refer the patient or work together with the patient to decide. But that's why I really love integrative medicine, because it really, really helps the patient choose what is best for them.
So I love that. Integrative medicine is basically the root of medicine in my eyes. When it pulls things from, East meets West and all of the other aspects of medicine that have been around for thousands and thousands of years and pulls some of those things together, I think that's where Western medicine is actually lacking. And, just giving an antibiotic for something and moving on is, for me, not the treatment of most things. And that's why I think it's so incredibly important, this area of medicine that pulls things together and allows us to treat people, and also is, like you said, a lot of preventative aspects of our health. And I think people really take that for granted too. Especially in this country, until something's falling apart, people don't even look at it and don't even do anything about it. So I think that's also something super important for us to completely be aware of.
That's absolutely true. And I guess when I was in residency, that's when I really noticed how healthcare really was. And I wasn't satisfied with that, because I really kind of understood intuitively that prevention made more sense. And so that's how I really discovered integrative medicine, because I remember it was a lot of late nights when I was on call, just like searching things, because I didn't know, I certainly didn't want to do what I was being taught in residency when I finished. I wasn't happy with that. And I felt that I had to research and figure it out on my own, which is, I'm glad that I did, because now I'm doing something that I think makes the most sense.
That's great. And I'm glad that you do that. Now, when you pulled the integrative medicine aspect into the different kind of niche that you do, what made you kind of do that?
I started, my interest in aesthetics started, I guess, more for my own personal benefit. I I started playing around with aesthetics in residency, on myself, and figuring out what the different procedures I like to do, and how to ensure that my skin was healthy. Because during residency, because there was a period where I broke out in cystic acne, I was so stressed out. It was, as you know, residency can be very stressful. And so I remember there was a particularly hard few months that I had, and my skin really broke out and I just felt awful. And so I started, it started on a path of, figuring out what worked for my body. And then I realized that I really enjoyed doing it and I wanted to make a career out of it. But I also understood that it's not all the outside. You have to really work on the inside too. And when I was just educating myself in different fields of medicine and where I wanted my career to go, I really saw that integrative medicine and aesthetics were like the two areas that like I was really interested in, and I really brought them together.
That's really smart. And that's where I find a little bit of overlap between our two areas of specialty. You're treating so many of the reproductive age women with the aesthetics and people that want to be as healthy as they can be. And I appreciate the fact that you just said that you have to treat from the inside out. Like there's no way to have beautiful skin and then treat your body and eat the worst foods and not do the healthy things and not drink your water and your fluids. So I think we need to take a second to talk about that. I mean, I think getting the right nutrition, the right supplements, the right balance of stuff inside of you that makes you as healthy as possible shows someone healthy on the outside. Listen, there's definitely some genetics involved. My grandmother was 97 years old when she passed, and she barely had one wrinkle on her face. And luckily, many members of my family have gotten those great genetics. And I know people that are like much younger than me and have like their faces all wrinkles. And I think there's some genetics involved. But I also recall that she never went in the sun. And I recall that she ate like nothing processed before in her life, and everything was fresh and everything, those are the things that people do to keep themselves super healthy. And, learning from that too, and taking aspects of like the Mediterranean diet that in both of our cultures is so incredibly important. And the more and more I've talked to people around the world, specialists in areas like integrative medicine, I've realized that the things that you do for your insides are so important. I'm in love with the Mediterranean diet. I just think that, whenever I travel to that part of the world, people are glowing, people are energized, people have a different spirit about it. I was just looking at an email that I got that Greece is opening up this summer on my talk about Mediterranean diet. And like immediately I looked and like airline tickets are already almost sold out. So, that's a great important thing to know. And the entire idea of the integrative medicine aspect of trying to keep your inside healthy, trying to pull together, looking and feeling as best as you can is important. Now, when that kind of overlaps with my area, is that women in their reproductive years need to also take excellent care of themselves, because to an extent, I think that the well-being of your fertility has a lot to do with how healthy you are too. You can't abuse your body and you can't do things that are really horrible for you. With that, I wanted to get your opinion, because I really trust your opinion so much, and so many of my patients do as well. What supplements would you recommend from an integrative aspect for keeping a woman as healthy as possible in her reproductive years?
I love this question because I love supplements, and I take a lot of them. And I started taking supplements, I'd say 5 or 6 years ago, and I feel that the way I feel now with my body is so much better than before, and so many of my bodily functions just function better, overall. So it's really important to consider supplements, but it's also important to, when you want to take supplements, to do an educated approach and not just go to Whole Foods or a vitamin shop and, randomly buy supplements. So I would always recommend working with an integrative provider when you want to initiate some supplements, and so you have a better understanding of what your body specifically needs, because everyone's body is different. And so there are some general supplements out there that I could say most people will need, but again, really a lot of this stuff sometimes is based on lab work, symptoms, so the individual. But I would start with vitamin D. I don't know if you recommend that to your patients. Vitamin D is a hormone and a vitamin, and it basically is required for many bodily functions. And unfortunately, most people are deficient in vitamin D. And this is well known that most people are deficient, but just from my own experience, when I check people's labs, I have in my practice only seen one time where someone was not deficient when they're not on vitamin D. So I'd say most people are deficient in it, and it has a lot to do with sun exposure, but I also think it has to do with food intake and our body's just not being able to get enough vitamin D. So we get it from the sun, but we also get it from our food. And so
what foods are really rich in vitamin D?
A lot of dairy, and a lot of it is fortified with vitamin D. And so you can also get non-dairy milks that are fortified with vitamin D as well. And some seafood, but I'm actually plant-based, so I don't eat any fish, but so there are ways to get it through your food, and there's foods that are have it added into them, like you can get almond milk with vitamin D, but I think the best way overall is incorporating a daily supplement of vitamin D, and that the amount that you take will vary on your lab value, so that's really important to check.
So by the way, we check that for every fertility patient walking in our door.
Oh,
so
great.
We check vitamin D, and we have a formula of how we dose it depending on what your level is. And I have to agree with you. I think vitamin D affects so many bodily functions that it's probably one of the most important labs that we check.
Really, it truly is. It truly, truly is. And I've noticed a huge change in myself when I take it. And the patients also notice a difference too. But you definitely have to be on supplements regularly, consistently. Like you can't take it one day and then forget it. That's the other thing with supplements, being consistent.
Yeah.
Which
I have a lot of patients that I order the supplements and I took it for a week. I'm like, well, that's not going to do anything.
Yeah. Developing a routine for yourself is really important, because taking the supplements is going to be like a daily, lifelong thing. Initially, it can seem kind of intimidating, but I see so many benefits from taking them that I take them every day.
Yeah, I take mine every day too. It's a typical routine. The second I'm done with breakfast, I put a glass of water that it reminds me to take the vitamin, and it's right there next to my breakfast table. So I go and take mine. And it's so funny because I now have to take my vitamins and supplements when I go on vacation because I feel a little off in different ways when I'm not taking some of them. And it's such a subtle little feeling, but I can feel it. And that bothers me. So I have to take a little baggie and put like enough days worth with me to take them, which is like, I feel like soon I'm going to have to get a pill dispenser to start doing my supplements, but that's going to be embarrassing. So vitamin D is really important. What are your thoughts on CoQ10, the strong antioxidant that I love to give to my patients?
I love CoQ10. Actually, I actually just posted about it the other day on my Instagram. So that's funny that you brought that up. CoQ10 helps with
Let's say what it is for people that may not know what it is first.
Coenzyme Q10 is an antioxidant that is found in the mitochondria of the cells, and it helps with energy production. So it has antioxidant capacities. It helps with energy production. It's really overall good for total body health. But a lot of times it's given for heart health as well. I'm not sure if you knew about that association, but
I know that it has benefits of every single organ system in the body. And the way I explain it to my patients, it's an antioxidant. And the way that all the cells of our body age is through what's called oxidative damage. And as an antioxidant, it slows down the oxidative damage to every single cell of your body. You're absolutely right. The cardiac and heart muscles have a lot of cells that get damaged very quickly, and that's how people have heart disease. But it affects beneficially the cells of your brain, your lungs, your skin. The studies in my world that have been incredibly important is that the purest form of CoQ10, which is the best absorbed, called Ubiquinol, which is the pure form. It's in a gel cap formulation that's very well absorbed versus, the regular capsule chalky CoQ10, which is, in my opinion, kind of a waste of money. That formulation, the Ubiquinol version of it, is so well absorbed that studies showed that if women take 600 milligrams a day, and the one that I prescribe is 200, so it's 3 a day, it slows down the actual damage to the cells of the eggs and holds on to eggs longer. And that's for us is huge. That's for women. And for men, it's been shown that men that take 200 milligrams of the Ubiquinol a day actually have better quality, better swimming, better looking sperm. So I always get a bottle or order it for my patient. I'm like, you can give your husband one a day so he's not jealous, and it benefits him as well. And you can take all 3.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just took mine this morning, so I'm glad that I'm protecting my body.
Yeah, good for you. Make sure you take 600 milligrams because that's what the recommended dose is for women to help protect their eggs. I take it once in a while. It makes me so energized.
Yeah.
I haven't figured something out. Like it sometimes even keeps me from sleeping well because that's how energized it makes me.
Right.
I've taken it in the morning as well, but I just noticed, and by the way, they say it has a lot of benefits for men. Not only just the sperm, but just physically as well. And yeah, I've taken it in the morning. I haven't really encountered many people, or maybe it's just coincidental that when I've taken it, but I have taken it for long periods, and I didn't always have that, but it was something that people should be aware that you get this like extra little feeling of energy that you may not with other things. So vitamin D and also the CoQ10 are really, really important. Is there anything else that you think is for reproductive age women a really important supplement?
There's so many supplements that I think are important. I always think that everybody should be on magnesium, a good magnesium. And this is not just for reproductive age women. I think it's just overall body function. And that's the thing about, the human body. You have to optimize the entire body for any part of it to function, right? So if you want to remain healthy and fertile at whatever age you're at, you want to ensure that your body's functioning properly. And so we're all probably deficient in magnesium, and taking a good quality magnesium, magnesium glycinate, citramate, those specific versions. So understanding the different types of magnesium too is really important. Will help your body overall function better, and it'll lower stress levels. It'll and we all know if you have high stress, that can lead to infertility. That's true. And so I'd say magnesium, omega 3s, DH.
Yeah, we give a DHA, which is the omega-3 as well. I've now moved to a plant-based one. so
Oh,
that
no.
there's no mercury in it. It's very hard to find a fish-based omega-3 fish oil, that is mercury free. So we've given the plant-based one. Recommendations for women that are going to be pregnant, and I even actually give it before pregnancy, is 200 milligrams a day of DHA. Again, that's the omega-3.
Yeah.
Getting back to the
Yeah.
magnesium, if I'm correct, it I think helps digestive system and your digestive
Yes.
tract move and not get constipated. And there's so much out there about gut health that has to do with feeling good and being healthy. I think that's an really important thing that is very under stressed in the world of medicine about keeping things. I'm glad that the topic of probiotics and things like that come up these days, because gut health is so important, and everything begins in your gut. So all of the absorption and all of the excretion and all of the, everything that begins in our entire system kind of begins basically with the beginning of gut health. And if you are someone who is really not regular and don't have normal bodily functions on normal activities, looking at the magnesium and other supplements that will keep you naturally regular rather than taking like laxatives or anything like that, I think is really important. But also that makes people should start thinking about their overall diet, about what they're doing that makes them unhealthy that way, because that's, I think, really important.
I completely agree with that. I think the Mediterranean diet, as you were saying, is studies have shown that that's one of the best diets out there. I'd like to say that I'm more plant-based, which is, I can argue that it's very similar to the Mediterranean diet in terms of how the food is processed and or not processed at all, and how the different ingredients that are used. But diet is probably the number one supplement. Your diet.
Where do you get most of your protein? So I'm a person that if I have a meal without a fish, chicken, or beef, I
Yeah.
do not feel full in any way. So I'm just very curious, unless it's like a gigantic pasta or something. And then if
Yeah.
if I'm going to go plant-based and eat a gigantic pasta every day, I might as well just like, become a ball in a second. Where do you get your protein that fulfills your meal?
Actually, a lot of vegetables have protein, but I eat a lot of mushrooms, and so mushrooms are kind of, they're not plants. They're in the fungi kingdom, and so they're a cross between the animal and the plant kingdom. But I eat mushrooms, and they have quite a lot of protein. Legumes, soy, like tofu products. I think that I get pretty decent protein with my diet, and I think my diet's pretty versatile.
Is that new,
I
by the way? Is this new diet of yours, plant-based, new?
No, I've been like I've been eating pretty much like this since I was 18.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You never really
Um,
talked about your diet before.
um, there's there's periods where I would eat fish, but I don't really right now. And I was listening to actually another podcast a few days ago, and most of the mercury poisoning in North America is due to fish consumption. And
Oh.
I haven't checked myself. I'm gonna check myself soon, but um, there is a lot of mercury, like people living with mercury toxicity or mercury poisoning without really knowing it, because the symptoms can be very non-specific. And so I definitely want to get myself checked, because that's important, because I think everyone should get themselves checked, but also people should be mindful of the fish that we're eating, and try to just really pay attention to that, because from what I understand, the bigger fish is what have the higher mercury concentration. So sticking to smaller fish would be safest, but also just being mindful of that.
Yeah, that's really smart, because the bigger fish have been around longer. It took them a long time to get larger, so they've absorbed more of the mercury in the water. And
Yeah.
that's something to be aware of. Yeah, so it's a small, I mean, I just, a delicious, like grilled, I love like a white fish that's barbecued.
I know.
The way that they do it, again, like in the Mediterranean, it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do well I would not do well plant-based. I personally wouldn't, but I love people that can do it. And I think it makes people's, their body shine and glow like you are, and it makes you super healthy in many ways. I think it's probably for some people maybe a great thing to do once a year, or just go on a shorter period of being plant-based, just to do like a internal cleanse of some kind. We have now a full-time nutritionist in our practice because we found it to be so incredibly important to be able to have a great diet, that everything is well balanced and you get a little bit of, everything inside of your body, and make sure that everything is working very well internally to make sure that your fertility is optimized and everything else as well. Do you see many men in your practice?
I do. Yes, I do. I'd say 40% of my practice is male.
And do you do a lot of the IV bags, the ones that have like all the supplements in them? And
We do. I do some IVs with B vitamins, magnesium. I really like glutathione. We do that separately. We also do vitamin C. Basically, the vitamins help with energy, metabolism. Some of them, they can help with weight loss, detoxification. I think they're a great addition to do once in a while, because getting your veins poked all the time isn't fun. But
what do you mean by once in a while? So how often would you recommend, if I felt like I wanted to get an extra boost in life and I wanted to be extra healthy, and we all know that the intravenous way is the best way to get absorption, how often to a middle-aged, reproductive aged man or woman would you recommend one of the IV bags with the supplements?
I'd say realistically, given, everyone's time constraints and lifestyles, we're all so busy. I'd say try to do once a month.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But if you're not feeling well, if you're feeling sick, something's going on with you, maybe try to do it a little bit more often, just to boost your immune system, help detoxify your body. So it depends on where you're at the moment. But if you're just doing it for maintenance and just overall energy, I would just try to keep it in your routine once a month.
Yeah, I think that's actually really important. And you know what? I think that just the benefit of getting hydrated, really well hydrated, is also really huge. So just the idea of getting fluid into your body, because so many people don't drink enough fluid. I think it's crazy. I have a huge bottle of water that goes from one to the next on my desk, and continuously going to the restroom, because if you're not, that means you're not drinking enough water.
Yes.
And I was talking about this on a different podcast. I think people that just don't drink fluids don't get thirsty.
Yeah, I've met some people that don't like to drink fluids, and I think I agree with that, because you're probably, your thirst receptors are not regulated, or they're not balanced. So I agree with that.
Yeah, so the importance of, I think, hydration and being well hydrated is just underestimated and under discussed in our country, and I think in our practices as well. All the fluid is what makes the blood in the body, and if you don't get good fluid intake and excellent blood flow through the body, I think that's kind of goes together very, very much. I wanted to ask, I just wanted to give you the opportunity, Dr. Rahi, to kind of let everyone know how they could get in touch with you if they needed to talk and if they wanted to get personalized attention. Are you doing consults via Zoom or in person, or how are you doing that right now?
Both. We're doing both.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell everyone how to get in touch with you if they wanted to.
My website is Dr. Rahi, but Dr. spelt out, so DOCTOR Rahi.com. And then my Instagram is at Dr. Rahi MD, again, Dr. spelt out. Or you can call the office and we can connect you and schedule an appointment.
But we'll have all of your information as well. And again, I thank you. It's always wonderful to talk to you. You are so full of good energy and such great information that people need to know about. And I appreciate the fact that you joined me on the Fertile Life. Hopefully what you've given to people today will make them more fertile and a happy life, and healthier in general. And thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening today. If you've enjoyed listening, please feel free to write a review. Also, feel free to follow my Instagram at Dr. Shahin Ghadir and message me if you need help setting up a consultation. Look forward to speaking to you soon, and I would love to help you start your family.